We returned to the cabin after 10 years. It looked abandoned, but the kettle was still warm. The drive up to Lake Sycamore was supposed to be nostalgic. Closure, maybe. My brother Joel and I hadn't seen the place since our dad passed. 10 years is a long time, but when we pulled up to that weather-worn, pine-shaded A-frame, it looked like time had stopped. The shutters hung crooked, the path was overgrown with weeds, and the porch swing still creaked like it had a heartbeat of its own. Only one thing didn't fit. The kettle on the stove was still warm. Joel was the first to notice. He pushed open the front door, squinting like he expected to be hit with a smell or a memory. Instead, he stepped inside and froze. "It's warm," he said. "Like, someone was just here." "No way," I muttered. I stepped past him, brushing away cobwebs from the doorway. The kitchen looked like no one had touched it in years, layers of dust on the counters, a pile of unopened mail near the window, and some yellowed sticky notes still clinging to the fridge. But the black enamel kettle on the gas stove had condensation on its sides. I placed my hand near it, hesitated, then touched the metal. It was warm. "Weird," I said. "Really weird." Joel walked over and turned the stove knob. It clicked, then flared to life. "Gas still works?" he asked. I nodded slowly. "I guess the company kept billing for it. I thought Mom canceled all the utilities after the funeral." Joel didn't say anything. He just looked around with that tight-lipped expression I knew too well, the one he wore when he was thinking something he didn't want to say out loud. We both knew no one in the family had been here since 2015. "Maybe a squatter?" I offered. "Maybe someone's been living here." He shook his head. "Nah. No signs of that. Dust is untouched. No food, no blankets, nothing moved." He was right. It looked dead, untouched since the last time we came up here as kids. The photo of us on the fireplace mantel was still tilted the same way it always had been. Our fishing rods still leaned against the back wall. Dad's old boots still sat by the back door, one laced, one unlaced, exactly like he used to leave them. But the kettle. The kettle didn't make sense. We didn't talk much as we unpacked the car. Just a couple duffel bags and a cooler of food. Joel lit a fire in the stone fireplace. I swept the porch. It wasn't until the sky turned purple and the crickets came out that I noticed something else. The photo on the mantel, the one of me, Joel, and Dad holding up a stringer of trout, was missing. I stood in front of the fireplace for a full minute, staring at the empty space where the frame had been. "Joel," I called, "did you move the photo?" He looked up from the fire. "What photo?" "The fishing one. The one with Dad." He stood and walked over, frowning. "No. I didn't touch anything. It was just gone. No dust ring, no fallen frame behind the mantel. Just gone." We slept in the old twin beds in the loft that night. I tossed and turned, thinking about that kettle. That photo. The sense that someone had been here just moments before we arrived. Around 3 a.m., I woke to a soft sound like a door easing shut somewhere below. I held my breath. Joel was snoring softly. I waited, eyes wide, heart thudding. Then I heard it again. Just barely. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Coming from the kitchen. I eased out of bed, careful not to wake Joel. The boards under my feet groaned, but his breathing didn't change. The cabin was pitch dark except for the faint orange flicker of dying embers downstairs. I crept to the edge of the loft and looked over the railing. No one. But the kitchen light was on. We hadn't turned it on. I grabbed the baseball bat Dad used to keep up here, still wedged behind the dresser after all these years, and tiptoed down the stairs. My pulse throbbed in my ears. Every shadow felt too deep. Every corner felt watched. The kitchen was empty. Still. Except, the kettle was warm again. I stared at it like it might move. The flame underneath it was out, but there was steam drifting lazily from the spout. Someone had reheated it just now. I turned slowly in place, scanning the room. The back door was unlocked. I know I locked it. Joel was the one who double-checked it before bed. He even made a joke about murder cabin security level. I opened the door and stepped out into the night. The backyard sloped gently down toward the lake. The moon reflected off the water in broken silver streaks. I walked out just far enough to scan the edge of the tree line. Nothing moved. No sounds but the crickets and a distant owl. When I turned back to the cabin, I saw a light go out in the upstairs loft. My stomach dropped. I sprinted inside, taking the steps 2 at a time. Joel was still in bed, now sitting up, bleary-eyed. "What the hell, man?" he mumbled. "Why are you stomping around?" I didn't answer right away. I checked the corner light by the bed, it was switched off. I swear it had been on. "Did you get up?" I asked. No, he said, rubbing his face. Why? I just stood there, trying to find a way to say it that didn't sound crazy. Instead, I just said, the kettle was warm again. That got his attention. He sat up straighter. What? And the back door was open. He swung his legs out of bed. Okay. That's it. We checked the place top to bottom. We spent the next 30 minutes combing every inch of the cabin. Closets, crawl space, attic hatch, even under the porch. Nothing. No signs of forced entry. No footprints, no stray items, no clues. But something had changed. Joel noticed it first. There were 3 mugs on the shelf, he said. Right above the stove. Remember? I nodded. Dad always lined them up perfectly. Mine had a faded Cubs logo. Joel's had a chipped green rim. Dad's was plain blue. Now there were 2. Mine and Joel's. The blue one was gone. I turned to him, my voice suddenly dry. Are you sure? He didn't answer right away. Then he said, Dad used to drink tea every night here. Even in summer. From that mug. He always rinsed it out and put it back before bed. I felt a chill crawl down my arms. Someone is messing with us, I said. Has to be. Joel didn't respond. He walked slowly to the kitchen table and sat down, like the weight of something just landed hard on his shoulders. What if it's not someone, he said. What if it's somehow? I shot him a look. You think this is, what, Dad's ghost? Come on. No, he said quickly. Not like that. I just mean, maybe someone who knew him. Someone who used to come up here. Maybe they've been watching. Maybe they came back. The idea hung there in the air, half-formed and heavy. We didn't sleep much after that. Just lay in our beds until the sky started to lighten. When I finally sat up, Joel was already downstairs. I found him staring out the front window. There were tire tracks in the gravel driveway. Fresh. Leading away from the cabin. Someone was here last night, he said. While we were sleeping. We followed the tracks out to the road, but they faded fast on the shoulder. No footprints, no cigarette butts, no signs. Back inside, something new was missing. Dad's fishing rod. The one with the red tape on the handle. The one he always used. Gone. And in its place, sitting neatly on the fireplace mantel, was the missing photo. But now, there were only 2 people in it. Me and Joel. We stared at the photo in silence. It was the exact same frame. Same background, same stringer of trout. But Dad was gone like he'd never been there. Just a clean gap between me and Joel, like we'd posed that way from the start. Joel reached out and touched the glass. This isn't Photoshop. This is the original. Same nicks on the frame. Same water damage in the corner. I said the only thing I could think of. This doesn't make sense. Joel didn't answer. He just sat down on the couch and kept staring at the photo like it might start talking to him. I paced. My mind was spinning with half theories, all of them terrible. Maybe someone was gaslighting us. Maybe one of Dad's old buddies had gone off the rails. Maybe we were sleep deprived and seeing things. But nothing explained that picture. Or the warm kettle. Or the missing rod. Or the truck that left no trace. We packed up that afternoon. Neither of us said it out loud, but we both felt it, something wasn't right here. The cabin used to feel like home, like a warm blanket of summer memories and late-night fishing stories. Now it felt like a trap. But just as we were about to leave, Joel stopped cold at the edge of the porch. Hey, you see that? I followed his gaze. A figure was standing down by the dock, back turned, hands in pockets. Still. Watching the water. It wasn't just the posture. It was the jacket. It was Dad's jacket. Joel was already halfway down the path before I could stop him. Joel. Hold up. He didn't even turn. I followed him down the hill, heart hammering, unsure what I was about to see. The figure stood motionless until Joel was just 10 feet away. Then it turned, slowly, and we both froze. It wasn't Dad. It was a man in his 60s, sure. Tall, thin, gray beard. But the face was different. Weathered. Narrower eyes. He looked at us like he'd been expecting us. You're Frank's boys? He asked. Joel nodded first. Yeah. I'm Joel. This is Tyler. The man nodded, almost to himself. He talked about you two all the time. My mouth went dry. You knew our dad? He gave a small smile. More like, he knew me. Back in the day. Fishing, mostly. He came out here a lot after your mom passed. Said the lake helped him think. That tracked. After Mom died, Dad got quiet. Spent more and more time alone at the cabin. Joel stepped closer. Were you here last night? The man didn't answer right away. Then he said, I come out here sometimes. Haven't in a while, but last night felt right. Did you boil the kettle? I asked. He smiled again, faint and a little sad. Old habit. But, how did the photo change? I asked. And the mug. And the rod. He looked at us for a long time. Then said something that still gives me chills. Sometimes, when people have trouble letting go, the place holds on for them. It gets stuck. And if you're not careful, you get stuck with it. Joel and I exchanged a look. You mean we were stuck? Joel asked. I mean, maybe your dad never really left, the man said. And maybe neither did you. We stood there, 3 men on a rotting dock in the late afternoon sun, with a silence that felt heavier than words. I buried something here, the man said finally. Years ago. Something your dad gave me. Before he passed. He led us to the edge of the woods, just a few paces off the path. There, under a stone marked only with a rough F carved into the surface, was a wooden box. Inside was Dad's blue mug, a pack of Polaroids, and a handwritten letter. Joel read it first. His hands shook. It was dated 3 days before Dad's heart attack. It said he knew he didn't have much time, that the lake had always held something sacred for him, that he hoped, one day, we'd come back not just to remember him, but to let go of what we'd been carrying. It ended with, if you're reading this, then you finally came back. Thank you. Joel cried. I cried. The old man just stood back and gave us space. When we left the cabin the second time, we didn't feel scared. We felt like we'd just said goodbye for real. We didn't speak much on the drive home. Joel kept one hand on the steering wheel, the other resting on the wooden box now sitting between us on the seat. Every few minutes, he'd glance at it like he was afraid it might disappear if he looked away too long. I stared out the window at the fading trees, the winding road, the early fall sky turning gold over the hills. I wasn't sure what we were feeling, grief, relief, something in between. All I knew was that the cabin didn't haunt us anymore. It humbled us. A week later, Joel called. You got a minute? I could hear something in his voice, that familiar tension he always tried to hide. What's up? You remember that guy? The one from the dock? Of course. Well, I've been trying to find him. Just to talk. To thank him, maybe. And I can't. I mean, I really can't. There's no record of him. No fishing license, no local address, nothing. I even called the hardware store in town, they've never heard of him. I let that settle in. Maybe he was just passing through. Maybe. But you remember what he said. About people getting stuck. I nodded slowly, even though he couldn't see me. Then Joel said, the photo changed again. What? I looked at it this morning. Now Dad's back in it. I drove to his house that night. We stood over the same frame, the same photo. Same cabin background. But this time, there were 3 of us. Clear as day. Dad in the middle, his hands on our shoulders. Just like the original. Except, none of us remembered ever taking it like that. Joel tapped the glass. Do you think this is what he meant? That maybe things go back when you finally let go? I didn't know. Still don't. But the next day, we brought the mug and the letter to Mom's grave. Left them both there, under the headstone. It didn't feel spooky. It felt whole. A few weeks later, Joel and I made a plan. We're going back to the cabin next summer. Not to search or explain or chase ghosts. Just to fish. Maybe fix the porch. Repaint the shutters. Use the place like Dad would have wanted. But every time I think about that photo, I wonder how many versions there have been. And how many more we'll never see.